he's a 10.
I choose this family.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 162 of 911 Lone Star Roundup. I'm one of your hosts, EJ, and with me are my lovely co-hosts, Katie and Grace.
Hey guys.
Hello.
Today we'll be talking about season 9, episode 8 of 911, which is titled War. As always, we have so much to talk about, so I think we want to get to it. So this beginning scene is so hilarious. They did drop it early, so I did actually get to see it. And I was like, what are they doing?
I was like, I had sent you guys like the clip of the scene, and then so like when they started with this scene, I was like, oh, we're already starting out in like a really great part.
Yeah.
This was so funny.
It was so Buck and Eddie though.
I loved the banter.
Was.
Like the banter was great.
Oh my god.
I feel like this was the first proper banter that we've had from them in ages.
For sure.
Yeah. So we've
got about that.
Yeah, so we've got Eddie and Buck. They're kind of like sweeping off the hoses, and Chim's up in the loft doing work at the table and like talking about him, and they're like, he's acting like he didn't just fire his best friend, and then Eddie's like, yeah, somebody should talk to him, but Buck's like, oh yeah, they do. And then Eddie thinks Buck should talk to him, but Buck says he's his brother-in-law and he can't tell him, what a massive mistake he is. And Eddie's like, but he's Hen's new work husband. He can't tell the ex-work husband that he would side with her, but even if it was warranted. Buck was like, and then they start their own bickering. And he's like, so you're not on Hen's side. You're on the side. You're on his side. And Buck's like, just I was laughing through it. It was so funny. And then Eddie's like, they kind of bicker back and forth for a second. Then Eddie's like, he's talking about chain of command. And I think we all kind of talked about it last week. Like, there's reasons on both sides. Like, she, had her reasons. Yeah. He had his reasons for doing what he did. It's a gray area, really big time.
Nuanced situation. Yeah. At best.
And then, but before, like, and Eddie's like, okay, yeah, you're right. You should go talk to him. And then he's like, well, someone should go talk to him. Then all of a sudden we hear, okay, where is he? I was like, Athena. And I'm like, Mom's here.
Literally, because I was thinking in my head before the episode started, I was like, okay, so we know something's going to happen where they're going to have to talk again. And I'm like, Buck and Eddie just be like, Athena, we need you. No, she showed up like on her own free will, and I love her for it.
And she was ready to go. She was like,
although I don't necessarily agree with everything. There's even things later in the episode. Yeah. That I'm like, what?
I feel like, and I feel like this is fine established now more. I feel like the episode more took Hen's side, and as someone who is squarely in the middle of all of this, of like they both messed up. I disagree with Chim, but I also disagree with how Hen handled it. Mm-hmm. I think the episode leaned more on Hen's side while still recognizing some nuance of the situation, right? But like it was like, okay, so Athena's there to hand Chimney's ass to.
Yeah,
right.
I mean,
and I'm not mad about it, but it was also like, okay, the nuance. Okay, it's 911. They only do so much nuance,
right? And and Athena confronts Chim for sure and goes on him, which I love how Chim kind of is like, you're right. And it's like, of course.
He just stood there and took it.
He's like, yeah.
Sometimes it's just what you gotta do.
Right. And so, she's like, well, you need to fix this before, it gets too deep, too big. And then, so Chim promises to talk to her. Ugh.
She has a good point, though, of like, you gotta fix the squabble before it turns into a grudge. As someone who holds grudges,
right,
it's gotta be fixed before it turns into a grudge.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I think that, they're both friends with Hen. They both have known Hen a very long time.
Anybody.
Yeah. She's trying to be the overprotective friend, and, Chim's kind of stuck in that I'm the captain, but I'm also her friend, and what do I do? And
you can tell he feels bad too. Like, even though, and correctly, he thinks like he wasn't wrong in what he did, he knows he handled it badly. And I think that's a good consensus, is he handled it badly.
Right.
Yeah.
For sure.
I can acknowledge that he was put in a really bad place, and yes, he could have went about it maybe a different way, but I also understand the decisions, because if this was anybody else in the seat, it would have been like the same scenario.
Yeah. So then we go to dispatch, which I just, no, this was
absolutely not.
I was so mad. So this guy's there, and he's basically introducing them to this AI bot crap thing that called Sarah. That
I was like, fitting name.
Fitting name.
Just on my own personal experiences. Sorry to any Sarahs out there. I'm just saying.
I think I said that last week. I was just like, oh, of course his name's Sarah. I have a very not good experience with Sarah. So.
Right. And so the whole point of this AI character bot thing was that like she would answer the calls first, and then it would be like, oh, if they're calling about a water main break, they'd pass them on, like it would automatically like send them to like the water company instead of like bombarding the actual dispatchers with unnecessary calls, which on the surface sounds okay, maybe could work, but it's 911. And of course they've used Maddie's voice as the like,
I know. I
was
did
like,
see,
you gotta be kidding me.
I did see like Jennifer Love Hewitt did an interview, whatever, there's an article out there about how weird it was to basically have to play this like AI bot that was complete chaos and like what went over that edge.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because she would have had to have voiced it too.
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like I like imitating robotic voices, so like feels like it probably would have been fun on the surface, but probably was weird.
I know people are like anti-AI, and I usually am too. There are places for it.
I agree
like
with that.
Finding definitions or coming up with
Recipes.
ideas for something. Recipes.
The 911 dispatch center is not one.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Also, fuck generative AI. I'm just gonna say that right now. That's my sense. Fuck it.
Anyone that uses somebody's voice without their permission, because honestly, they did not use her voice with her permission.
That's my thing. Is that they didn't like that was okay. Yep.
Yeah.
I hated that. I was thinking about that earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like oh, well, we just observed the best voices that had the most tone, and it was like giving all these reasons why they picked, and then it sounds like her. And it's like, really?
That's creepy.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, see, I have no problem with like if you're using it for like simple things like recipes or like getting ideas for something, very simple things. But when it comes to like using it in this sense and for all the other messed up shit people are using it for, I am completely against it.
Yeah.
If they can make it so like that wasn't a thing, I would be like, okay, this is fine as like a tool, but when it comes to like the other stuff, I'm just like, this is a problem.
It is not meant to be used as the only option. Exactly that. It's a tool.
You cannot replace humans.
Exactly.
And that is the fundamental thing, is that like even in real life they keep trying to replace humans.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's not working.
Okay.
Not here. I mean, it's obvious. This episode is a perfect example.
And I wish some people would listen to what this episode is saying, because they were saying it.
Right. So then we go to Chim, who shows up at Hen's with an olive branch in the form of a gift basket. And, she's definitely upset with him. He admits that he screwed up, and he shares it scared him. And, then when he found out that she'd been sick for months, he just kind of was upset. And then she admits that she was scared too. And she was, waking up in a hospital and had no idea, how she got there or why, and Chim shares that, he wished she would have told him. And she says, she didn't want to put him in an awkward position because he's the captain now. But he's like, but we've been best friends for so long. He's like, I would be the friend if you called and said that you killed somebody, that like, I'd get the shovel, I was like, okay.
He would. We know this.
They have been in quite a few situations.
Yes, they have.
All this work that they do to kind of get back up with, they share, he says he's sorry, they hug. And then Hen sits down and starts talking to him about how she can come back to work and, what she's going to do. And he's like, you can't come back to work, like not right now. And all the positive growth just went out the window. He gets upset, and then, there's some more bickering, and she ends up, he's like, well, it's a good thing that I already fired you. And which is a bitter sentence to say, but
well, because it wasn't even like he just said that, because she had first said how she told him that you're not a bad guy, you're a bad captain, and then he said that.
That was it was uncalled for, but I can understand why she said it. She was upset.
They were both running on emotions in that, and they both said some really terrible things. And it's like, it's a funny thing is that like obviously they weren't going to resolve it so early in the episode, but like the moment they did in the scene after like them hugging and making up, I was like, oh, we're about to have a fight. Like it's not gonna be there.
It's not gonna be that easy.
Not gonna be that easy. Like it's too early.
Yeah. And it's also like, I get it, but also I'm like, Hen, you weren't gonna get like your job back like
Yeah.
that easily.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean,
because if nothing else, they still don't know what's wrong with her.
exactly.
Like
Like,
that's
It's very
reasonable.
risky.
yeah, they still have no idea what's going on with her, what happened, why, and he
It's
can't just
too
have her come
dangerous.
back. It's just gonna happen again. We have no idea what's going on.
Which, okay, guys, this is giving me such lawsuit flashbacks.
Yep.
Yeah.
And anyone who knows anything about me and my relationship with 911 knows I hate the
Yeah.
lawsuit arc.
Same.
So-
Same.
So do I.
But I'm thinking about
it too much.
Yeah, it's interesting because I'm thinking about how the fandom got so divided, like unhealthily so, over Bobby firing Buck. And it's interesting because we're having some of the same arguments as Buck couldn't go back to work either because he was having the clot issue. Like, what happens if he collapsed on a call? What happened if he endangered other people in there? What happened and
Got cut and started bleeding. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think it's interesting that we're literally having this same argument, but we were having this argument far more civilized than the Buck and Bobby argument ever was about the lawsuit. I think it's funny that this is coming back up again, but I'm like these are some of the same talking points.
Yeah, like
And why I was never on Buck's side.
I know I was so against it. I feel like this is like obviously we know this is different, but I'm just like I think it's interesting because I get where Hen's coming from, but I don't necessarily agree with her. Where I kind of agree more with some of the things Jim has to say, just because like Bobby had to deal with this with both Buck and Eddie in different times. So I kind of understand that part of it too. And there are things that come up with Hen later where I'm just like, and even I've seen people comment on it, and I'm like, I actually agree with what's being said because I'm just like, yeah, that makes like, I'm just like, wait, what?
Well, yeah, I mean, honestly, we've got a new captain in the 118, and it is bound to have some repeat storylines that Chim facing similar things that Bobby experienced previously. Oh, just to see how Chim is going to react, or Chim reacting differently, or is there a difference between how he reacts? And
correct me if I'm wrong, but Bobby was a captain before he came to the 118, right?
Yeah, he was captain of Minnesota.
So I think it is like, yeah, we are experiencing a lot of the same things that Bobby had to deal with, but also with the added thing of, other than Captain Han's unsuccessful stint in season 2, he's not had experience being a captain before. And I have really come around to the idea of him as a captain, particularly with Hen's situation, even though, like, you know, obviously things were weird. But, like, he's still having to figure out a lot of this whole balance bit. So I think, you know,
and
obviously her being like, yes, and
so there's a lot of eyes on him.
And so, like, he's talking, and that's what he's saying in this thing, is that, like, it's like a lot of pressures on him, like he's gotta I do think a little bit of it is like him. I think he's still trying to figure out what leeway he does and doesn't have, because Bobby could get away with a lot of shit. he could let some things slide, but Chimney doesn't know what he can or can't. And then Hen calls him a bad captain. Even if rationally he could recognize that as being said, like, heat of the moment and stuff, no one is going to respond rationally to that. So I wouldn't have responded rationally to that. I'm sorry, I would have lost my shit.
Yeah, understandably.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, I'm surprised he didn't lose more of his shit. No, I know. Weird situation.
Yeah. So then we're back at dispatch. Maddie is sitting down with whatever this thing is called, and they're basically testing it out and keeping a tally of how many times she sends a call to one of the dispatchers over the AI taking care of it. And there's a couple of calls, and then there's one specifically that, like, Sarah's like you should evacuate the area, and Maddie's like, but it's a headache, like what's going on? And then Sarah's like, oh well, there's 14 other similar calls in the same area, so you know there's a gas leak, you know. So it's like she made this. So yes, AI can kind of think, like, put pieces together and organize better. And even Josh and Maddie are kind of like trying to get in the call, but they can't. And Josh and her are kind of like, oh yeah, so it's kind of working like it's supposed to, which is kind of like freaking everybody out, because like They're like,
Right.
we're
That was
losing
such
our
a
job.
weird. That was such a weird
Yeah.
situation because the call seemed like a prank or a joke, and
Hmm.
then when you got to like the end of it, you're like, oh, because
Yeah.
like it didn't seem like it didn't it seemed like one of those bogus calls, and I was just like, what
Right.
is happening?
She literally was just like she's in the mall and she was sleepy.
Yeah.
And it's
Sleepy
like,
and
okay,
headache.
that's one of those things that's like, okay, she could be having a diabetic emergency. She could be like, even if it wasn't necessarily a prank thing, like where I was thinking with this scene originally, I was like, oh, it could be so many different, like a
Mhm.
headache and sleepy literally are symptoms of many. So I was like, it is a little presumptive to be like, evacuate, but
Right. So like I could see like that. They're all kind of like, oh, okay, so this might be not as bad as we think. And I get like I mean, dispatchers get all sorts of calls. They get kids calling
yeah,
to just call. They get people who, are calling for the emergencies, people who are like calling because there's a stoplight out in their neighborhood and they want it fixed. Like that's not 911's problem.
that's not an emergency.
But, and I, as a, having been a caregiver, I knew there was a phrase that we could say, and it's like, this is a non-emergency call. And then like, as soon as you tell them that, then they're like, okay. And then they like take your information or whatever and pass it on to whoever. But, so there's
Yeah.
Yeah.
ways of calling 911 and, addressing that, that it's not, but you don't have any other buddy to call.
Which is why they
Yeah.
say use the non-emergency line, but I've also heard dispatchers say that the non-emergency line sometimes it's still like
Yeah.
them answering it, so
Mhm.
it sometimes really doesn't do much of
Yeah.
a difference.
Right.
Yeah.
And so here we go. It's like, well, we're so far into the episode and, I'm like, okay, what's going on next? So then we get this call at the grocery store and this guy's like shopping and starting to struggle. And you could see his eyes are like fading out. And he's so tense. First I was like, okay, is this a health thing? Is it like he
Right.
like shock, something. And then, this was a tough to deal with because if he starts to freak out, there's other people around, there's a lot of people around, and then a guard has to get in, like a security guard has to get involved. And why is a grocery store security guard carrying a gun?
I was wondering the same thing. I was like, that doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was wondering about that a little myself. I was like,
It
like
didn't,
I could be wrong, but I don't feel like that's a normal thing.
not normally. And so this guy, he's triggered. He ends up grabbing the security guy's gun. They kind of struggle, and he ends up accidentally shooting the guy, the security guard. So when the 118 shows up, we find Athena. She's kind of going through and explaining, and then there's this woman with her, and she's a cop therapist, as Jim put it.
Yeah.
Which
Mhm.
they're starting to like. A lot of police departments are starting to bring in social workers and mental
Yeah, they're
health
like
professionals.
crisis
Yeah,
managers or something like
to
that. I
kind of
know other
bring
Which
shows
is
in.
have
good.
used it.
Yeah. And it's to help the police department and the police officers out doing their job, try to help people, or when they're in very triggered situations or responses, like the psychologists and the psychiatrists can kind of help get them out of that.
Yeah.
So this woman is going through like, well, we know who this is. She's reading his military records. And
Yeah.
Eddie's like, that doesn't make sense. And, he's like, can I take a look? And so, and I love how Buck was like, he's an Army vet, he's a combat medic. I was like, of course, Buck, another time mentioning him being in the military and being a combat medic. But Eddie's looking at the like breakdown of this guy and he's like, this doesn't make any sense. And he says, with what then it was in the guy's records is that he was supply or logistics, which is just working in like a warehouse delivering things. And that's usually a cover for something else. And so Eddie picked up on it pretty quickly that he thought the guy was like special forces or something, or intelligence. And he's probably had been undercover or maybe deep undercover. Eddie and this counselor, therapist, whatever we're calling her. I don't remember. Honestly, I can't remember what Athena said she was.
I don't know. They said like something about smart program or something like that.
The acronym was SMART. I don't remember exactly what it stood for.
But she's like a mental health professional, I
Yeah.
would say. Like
Yeah.
in
She is a
between a therapist and a negotiator is kind of how I think about
Okay,
it.
yeah, that's a good, like, I like that. Therapist and negotiator, yeah. So Eddie and her go inside kind of slowly to kind of like get the lay of the land. And it takes a minute because at first like they're able to get so far and Eddie's kind of talking to him like he's in the military and using, we actually learned a little bit more about what specific unit Eddie was in the army. Finally get to the guy and finally get to the security guard who's basically in there bleeding out. And so Eddie's finally able to kind of talk him down. Plus the counselor is able to help. And it's definitely a tough situation because the guy is like triggered from just being overwhelmed. And, outside they were able to get his mom to come. And so between her and all of them, they were able to kind of talk him down and kind of secure the situation. But I just felt bad for the guy. He'd been in the military.
Yeah.
He got hurt. Then he, was taken out, and they come back so hurt mentally, physically. And
Yeah.
can just imagine that was probably pretty overwhelming for him to just go into a situation like that.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
felt this was such a heartbreaking scene because
Yeah.
like Eddie said that he was probably like undercover and he probably still felt like he was undercover, like he in his mindset. So it was just so hard to watch, like seeing it. Like at first, when we first got the scene, I was like, "Oh, is this guy gonna have a heart attack? Like, what's happening?"
Yeah, I was wondering what they were leading up to because he was clearly out of it when they first showed him.
Right, yeah. It was a good scene to see with Eddie's perspective because obviously he's had his like battles with PTSD. And it was cool for him to like with the military experience to be able to talk to him that way. So it was very like I felt for the guy. I felt really bad for him. It's sad.
We just have so many people come back and they aren't able to get like the help they need. And like VA stretched them, funding stretched them, all of it. And so I think, obviously a situation like this doesn't happen every day, but it does happen.
Yeah.
And so
there's
I'm
also
just
like
kinda...
little triggers too, because one of my coworkers, he was in the army, and even just like little sounds, like he does, it's not like something like this would necessarily happen. Not saying it wouldn't ever, but like he'll hear something, he's like, "Oh my God, that like literally brought me back." So there's little things too. It's not always like this.
Yeah.
Even a car backfiring outside could like truly trigger somebody like that.
Or just any sort of loud noise or something. It's difficult.
You get to the next scene and it's kind of funny. It's like this young guy, he's like this girlfriend, like, or girl, like he was trying to get with, and he's like playing games. His place is a disaster. But then all of a sudden she's like, "Oh yeah, I'll be over there soon." And so he has to like start running around the house to clean up, which he did pretty good in an hour, I gotta say.
Honestly, yeah. He clearly looked around and went, "Ah."
Right. So he gets to this point where he has to like open the glass door to go outside, and he ends up like basically falling through it. And so he gets a piece of glass stuck in his neck and he's bleeding. So he calls 911 because, that's the thing you should do. And Sarah, this AI thing, answers. And at first she does what she's supposed to do, which is transfer the call to like Maddie. And when Maddie starts to help this guy, all of a sudden Sarah just overtakes the call and like locks Maddie out. And, Sarah is basically telling the guy to, you're supposed to put pressure on the wound to get it to stop bleeding and to not pull out the thing. And so
never pulled out an inserted object.
Yeah. Especially in your neck. Because they, it hit his jugular. And so this guy, the AI bot, is advising him to wrap a towel around his neck or whatever it was and tie it tight so it will cut the circulation off. You don't do that on your neck. And this, oh my God.
You guys should have heard my almost weeping on this because we literally just did inflations in class. Like, I know I could have taken care of this.
Yeah.
Which is a funny thing. I could have been there to deal with this situation theoretically. We literally were going through that and all the different ways to not, like, how to deal with neck inflations and stuff. It's like, It was hard. Okay.
Yeah, it was triggering for Grace, who's going through this in school.
Yeah, a little bit. Actually, no. So, because Maddie's completely locked out of the computer, they can't seem to get a hold of anybody to like fix this.
she ends up calling Tim on his cell phone, and she tells him to go to this guy's house, and they luckily are able to get in there, break in, and check him out, and kind of got him there just in the nick of time because he'd literally tightened it up. He had passed out.
Yeah.
But thankfully they got him. It was good. And then back at dispatch, they're kind of like troubleshooting what happened. And oh my gosh, what is Sue? Was like, no, she's fired. It was just like they were done.
I love that. I was like, yes, thank God.
Yeah, we're not playing with this, okay? Like, we gave it a shot, and it almost killed somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Sarah is smart, and she, even though they shut down the system, she was already in their system, and so she had been able to write the code that was needed to get her into the system, and so she's taking over all of the computers, and they can't, like, it's a mess. Maddie, like, Sarah starts talking to Maddie like she's sentient or something, and I was like, this is freaking creepy.
Right, and even before this, like, so they were gonna unplug basically, so they took the app off or whatever, so they uninstalled it essentially. Then they were gonna unplug her from their servers because the whole plan was to eventually integrate her. But no, she wrote her own code, so she basically moved up.
Yeah.
And so she was controlling all the computers or whatever.
Right.
Then of course she calls Maddie, and this is the most weird thing ever.
They're trying to kill me. What? I'm so mad at this.
But Maddie was a complete genius.
She was.
She like literally convinces Sarah to like basically put her into a flash drive, and she's like, oh, it's cozy, there's vacation pictures and a playlist in here. And so Maddie puts her in the flash drive, and then whatever, they end that, and then she unplugs the drive and whatever, and they're all like, is this really this easy? And then Maddie just smashes the flash drive, and I'm like, yes, yes.
Yes.
And she's like, be too careful. Which I'm like, oh, great. And I loved, there was one part, it was right before this when Sarah was saying to Maddie, they're trying to kill me, and Josh's comment of, this bitch. I was like, same Josh.
There was some good one-liners in here.
Also, can we say welcome back, Josh? I feel like we haven't seen him in an age. Right? I know he was around for the space stuff and all that, but like, it's so like, oh, Josh, hi.
Right. Yeah. And it was just like, I get it. I was like, man, I told my roommate, I was like, man, it's like it's infecting her like she's like a virus. I was like, we can't get rid of this AI crap. This is. And while she took over everything, she took like 120 calls. I feel bad for every person that had to talk to her.
And it's like, in the end, like, how many people weren't actually able, because we didn't touch on the fact that she took over 120 calls all that much. Like, hey, those people were in real crises.
Yeah.
Anyone figure out what was going on there? Because I'm sure some people really needed help.
Right.
So obviously we don't really touch on that, but I still was like, oh, interesting.
So the next little scene or two is interesting. So we see Tim and Maddie arriving at Athena's, and they're talking, oh yeah, we're looking forward to seeing the place. And as they walk in, they see that Buck and Eddie are already there, nursing on the charcuterie board and drinking wine. And Alex, the cop therapist, was also there. And there's some conversation back and forth, and they're like, well, why are you two here? And Buck and Eddie are just kind of like, we were invited by Athena, and we just didn't think it was bad to, or we thought it was bad to say no.
Yeah, they thought it was rude.
Yeah.
No. They're just there like, you know what actually happened is that they were bribed with food.
Yeah. Most single men are.
To be fair, if somebody offered me a free meal, I think I'd be there too.
True. Yeah. Like most single
so apparently single women. Yeah. So you know what? I think if someone offered me food, even when I'm in a relationship one day, I'd be like, come on, and me and my partner are gonna go get free food.
Right.
I've been to many occasions for a free
in this
meal.
economy, free food is free food.
So Chim kind of starts to put some pieces together, and he realizes that this isn't just not a social visit. He's talking about this being an intervention, and he's like, and all we are waiting for is, and the door, there's the doorbell, and Hen and Karen show up. They start having a conversation about they've been friends for over 15 years. Hen is saying Chim overreacted. Chim says that he agrees that he could have said it nicer. And Athena's like, how could you have said you're done at the 118 better? And even I love Maddie was like, you said it that way? She like chimney.
She's like, that's how you said it? Like, what?
I love Karen and Maddie both, like, just being the partners here, being like,
right?
So that, you didn't say it like that. Like,
right?
When you told me your side of the story, it wasn't
They're
like
both
that.
calling out their spouses, which I love for them.
I love that.
Because in this scenario, it's definitely his version, her version, and then the truth somewhere in there.
So Chim's like, it was her idea. She told me to treat her like any other member of the 118. If it had been your brother, Buck is like, then you would have fired me. And Chim says, in a heartbeat.
That was a little funny. I was dying.
It was kind of funny. Buck's just out here catching strays.
Then Eddie's like, how they all know this chain of command, and Bug's like, oh, you say chain of command one more time. Because so they're having their own squabble. And I was like, okay. It's like, I think we strayed a little far, a little off topic.
A little bit.
And Chim's like, maybe they should put the focus on where it belongs. Hen lied to them all, which is why she got fired. Hen says she was trying to protect them all. Karen questions how that was protecting them, which, fair question, honestly.
I do love that we are literally just having an accountability meeting where it's all like, hey, y'all fucked up here. Let's straighten this out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly.
And then, Chim kind of goes on with like, do you really think after losing Bobby, we were ready to see another firefighter go down? And Hen says to them, what do you think I was trying to protect you from? Losing Bobby broke us all into pieces, individually and as a team. They couldn't take another hit, so she kept it to herself until she knew what it was. It was hard for her going through this alone, waking up every day, wondering if it was the day she wouldn't be able to get out of bed, just watching symptoms appear, just like this was going to be the one that was going to finally take her out. Then Eddie's like, well, we wish you would have told us. Hen's kind of questioning him. Did any of you ask? So there's that.
Hey now, are we forgetting Buck did grief assessments? And everyone blew him off.
Yep. There's more.
Yep.
I will have a lot to say in a minute.
Oh yeah, me too.
Yep. I just had to say.
And then Hen's like claiming nobody asked. Then at Chim's party, Hen tripped and Maddie asked if she was okay. She said no to them. Asked if she was okay. She's like, well, Buck was circling too, and nobody was there for him. They weren't supporting each other. There was just all this stuff. And Hen knows they are all in their own little bubbles of grief and sadness, but he was her friend. She asked, while she was worried about all of them, were any of them worried about her? Hen she gets up because obviously she's upset, and then she ends up passing out. She wakes up in the hospital, and everyone's there. And Athena apologizes because, Athena was the one going through the biggest grief of losing her husband. And, she's apologizing to Hen for not checking in with her and being a friend to her. And Hen's saying, like, no, it's not your fault. Like, she doesn't know where she's, coming from with some of this. And Athena's like, your heart, it's coming from all that. And then Chim's like, it's their turn to take care of her, which is good. So then the doctor comes in and he has some test results, and Hen says he can say anything in front of her family, which was really nice to see. So Hen has been diagnosed with a autoimmune connective tissue disorder. It is genetic, but there can be environmental triggers. And in Hen's case, it might have to do with the large dose of ultraviolet radiation. And she was like, how would I have been exposed to that? And he goes, well, maybe in a space capsule with a missing door.
And I'm like, okay, so they went for the easy option to blame it on that.
I had a feeling.
But also, like, are we testing Athena now?
Yeah, I feel like that was the easy option. Like, I don't think this seems like a cop-out a little bit, because I'm just like, otherwise everyone else in that damn spaceship was affected.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, why couldn't they have gone the genetic route? Like, maybe it skipped her mom, because sometimes things skip generations.
Right.
Like, they could have just gone for the genetic route, and it would have been, because so much of this is like, one of my friends has EDS, and for anyone that doesn't know, that's Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and it is a connective joint tissue disorder, which will have my friend in a wheelchair in a couple of years. Like, they already are using mobility aids. And it's really hard because my friend is like 20. Like, they're really young. So it's hard to see that, but like, this thing, like, EDS is genetic. And so, like, and they can like figure out, they're like, oh, I think it's get my parents, but like my grandparents showed signs of it at different points. And it's like this stuff skips generations. They could have gone, like, they didn't even have to overthink, like, oh, Tony at like 80 years old is gonna have to start showing. No. Sorry. That was very roundabout, but like, that is like, they could have just, I feel like it was the easier option to go with the genetic bit. Because now they don't have to bullshit their way out of the other 5 people not having.
Right.
Yeah, it just, they could have went with something else. I feel like they just wanted to connect it to that. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. So the doctor says that there is no cure, but there is treatment, and with meds and physical therapy, they can stop the progression. From her, getting to a point where she can't move or eat, which is where she's kind of getting to that point now. Doctor says it's going to be a fight, hence like she's ready for it, and Chim says so are we. And that's the end of the episode. There was a lot of hurt on both sides that was expressed. Hen, she was checking in with everybody. Yeah, Buck did do his Buck thing, and he's like, oh, I did this, grief assessment on everybody. And Hen has always been somebody who's been able to hide a lot of stuff and doesn't speak up a lot about certain things. Yeah. Especially when it comes to her and her health and her personal life.
Right.
Until it festers to a point where she has no choice to bring it up. And this is another one of those cases. Not that I am excusing what Chimney did, because I think he could have gone about it way better. He has a right as captain to suspend an employee pending a health diagnosis.
Yeah, it's hard. Like, my one thing with Hen this episode is that she basically was trying to, not to say she was playing the victim, but a little bit. She was acting like, oh, well, nobody else was there for me. I was grieving alone. Yet there was an episode where Buck was trying to like talk with everyone, and they like flat out ignored him, and they were dismissing his feelings and all these things. And I'm just like, really? We're gonna play that card? We're gonna play the nobody asked me if I was okay. Okay, there were multiple occasions where multiple people were like asking if she was okay, and she just pretended, oh no, I'm just tired, or some stupid reason.
Yeah.
Which I understand, not wanting to like worry people or not wanting to draw attention to something before you know what's going on. But after like a few months and you're like getting worse, I would maybe say something to at least your wife.
Yeah.
See, I would understand it if all the times that people asked her about something were times like Maddie, which was like she tripped at the party and she asked if she was okay. Not the right kind of question, though Maddie did not know the right kind of question. But I'm gonna harp on about the Buck thing for a second, because that does frustrate me. Is that like, he literally did do these grief assessments, and people shrugged him off. People acted like he was being an annoyance, even though, and I've always thought that was one of his own ways of like calling for help. Because I really wonder, like, if this whole season is going to bounce from each of them, like showing prolonged effects of Bobby's death and like the grief and mourning. And I kind of hope we are. Have faith that they're doing that. But I need Buck to lose his shit at some point and just be like, but I did.
Yeah.
Like, I did. I understand if you're so narrowly focused on your own stuff that you can't see the people around you. You can always perceive the intentions of people around you. But I needed just one other person to be like, no, we did. And like, I don't want to say that she's playing the victim, because she has a legitimate medical issue. She has legitimate grief and mourning feelings. But at the same time, a little. Like, just a little bit. Like, I kind of agree with what you were saying, Katie. Like, I don't know. I don't like how a lot of this was handled overall. I think it is an interesting exploration of how rationality goes out of the window when faced with a personal crisis on the heels of like a family crisis or both, because we're looking at both here. Bobby's loss, Hen's own personal medical issues, not to mention any lingering trauma that they will never talk about with the whole space thing. All of that is all important stuff.
Yeah.
And rationality does go out of the window, even for the most rational people. But I just feel like, they... Okay, I'm kind of going back and forth. I'm kind of being a little scattered with my words, but I'm going to lock, and I'm just going to say my feelings with this entire storyline of Hens is that it was ultimately played for the utmost drama, but not for the utmost storytelling. Not for longevity, not for character development or character continuation. By this, I mean that we have Hen, who is a smart, scientific, medical professional who refused to go to medical professionals and instead chose to waste and put herself and her family into credit card debt, presumably, because it's going all on the credit card, on a hocus pocus scenario in the clinic where someone died that she treated. Instead of having, and I talked about this last time, instead of having legitimate conversations about struggles, like Black people and particularly Black women's struggles in being listened to in the medical field, of having doctors pay attention to them and not just simply pass off their symptoms as being menopausal or just anxiety or PCOS, which no one refuses to treat. Like, no one does research instead of having those conversations, talking about the shortcomings of the medical field and the ingrained racism in the medical field, instead of having those conversations which could continue and sustain character development and continuation, we just chose to throw that all out of the window.
They had a really good opportunity. They just chose not to take it.
Yeah, I kind of figured they wouldn't take something like that because it would be a lot to dive into. Well, not saying it wouldn't have been good. Like, I think it would have been really great. But, like, they're going to go off of the most dramatic approach, not the most, reflective approach, I guess.
But the thing is, and, I agree with what you're saying. And I think what I'm ultimately saying is that, it makes sense, but also they could have had that same drama, but continued to have, hard-hitting meaning and connect with their audience. And I know 911 is not that deep, in and of itself. It is still an emergency drama. It's only groundbreaking in so many ways. But I just wish, and, I'm using that example, but even throughout this own episode, there were so many examples of where they could have chosen a more sensical route, which would have made more sense for the characters.
Right.
But they didn't do that. And it's I don't know. I have very mixed feelings on this. And thank you for letting me go off on a tangent. I just have mixed feelings. And that's not even touching the AI bit of things. That's the whole other part of this episode. Right. But I just have mixed feelings about all.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess with this whole, especially, the intervention in a way, I don't necessarily think it was an intervention, but it was definitely your friends are trying to bring you guys together to sit down and have a conversation that's not going to end in he said, she said, which honestly is what I feel like is what they needed witnesses. And it's fair. That was how Hen was feeling. Chim had his own feelings. They were able to share it, but it seemed a little out of character for me to see Hen acting that way, because she's never really been one but then on the other hand, I think about the time when they forgot her birthday and Buck's out doing her yard work and other stuff. And I'm so the people in your life that have stepped up in any other way, wishing you a happy birthday and doing special things for you because they forgot, those aren't people that are important enough to tell. And yes, y'all lost Bobby, but if you'd have just keeled over and died, that would have been worse, especially if it comes out that she'd been going to a doctor for months trying to figure out what was wrong with her and she said nothing.
Because then that adds that sense of betrayal. Yeah.
And, you know, Eddie has gone from being on the fire truck to now working on the ambulance with Hen. And then now he's got whoever, you know, right now it looks like they're just using extras, which is fine, background characters. And in some ways, it's understandable. But I'm like, what in the world is going on? Like, what did she think was going to happen? She was going to just magically come up with a diagnosis and then go talk to the guys were like, this is what's going on, and I'm okay. And so this, in a way, it was kind of like she needed a kick in the pants. And so that was the universe saying, well, you know how Buck said in Jinx, you know, or Eddie says the universe does not scream. The universe is screaming at that.
Yeah.
So also, yeah, I just, for that specific part of it, like the last little bit of the episode, I don't know. It's a tough direction either way. This whole storyline with her and her health, I think it's just a really poor time to try and do that.
Yeah, because my thought is going forward is, so where are we going from here? Because I don't get how she is going to, like, with this disorder that doesn't have a cure, but we can, like, stop the progression. I don't get how she's gonna be able to do the same job that she's been doing. It's looking darker, and I'm not sure where they're going with this. I don't know what they're gonna do. This is like a very bold thing of them to do.
Right.
And I don't want to like say, oh, like, are they just gonna do like the 9-1 thing and have this happen, and then like suddenly she's just back working?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I did yes, it's possible for her to do treatments and kind of get back to a baseline, but she passed out coming out of a fire and like could have killed herself and another person. That's how you can't go. It's like, so I don't, even if she does come back to the fire department, I don't think she would be able to come back as a firefighter paramedic.
Sure.
Like it depends on protocols. It depends on like doctors and but she'd have to go through so much. And also what I'm worried about is like with something like this, they have given her a permanent medical condition. They have shown they're not good with permanency.
Yeah, that's what I mean. They should have did something that was treatable, and then it's like, oh, you just have to be out of work for X amount of time. They should have went like, this seems drastic to me.
It does. I'm like, I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like when 911 does something that is permanent because they never can carry it through all that long. Like, think about how many people have sustained drastic life-altering injuries with scars and with after effects and stuff, and they've dropped that after a season or two. Like, they cannot. It's object permanence. They have problems with object permanence,
right? And like,
except it's storylines.
I get it, because it's like after like a season, I'm not going to be thinking about the specific thing where I'm just like, I forget about it, and then like I think that's what they think. They're like, okay, well, we have to keep this up for like the rest of the season, then by the next season they'll forget about it.
Yeah, just like the scar on Maddie's neck. What was it?
That's exactly what I was thinking.
And like
about.
Now all of a sudden, like it's gone.
Oh gosh, I forgot about that. Yes, but it's true. And like Buck should technically have a really scarred leg, and
he doesn't.
Should have lightning scars to some degree. And has anyone really seen Jim's forehead scar in a while? And like it's all this stuff.
Which scars, like, yes, they can fade over time. Like, I cracked my forehead open when I was like 5, and you can still see the scar. Like, I don't notice it as much, whatever. But you can still see scars.
Yeah,
I've had a scar for almost 23 years because I cracked my head on a glass table when I was like 1, and I still have it on my head, but it is much fainter now than it was when I was a kid. So feasibly, you could even say Jim's scar has faded a little, but like it still should be able to see it, and you should be able to see all of those other ones. And it's like,
yeah, I mean, it has been
it's just a silly wee woo show.
It is. So yeah, and I think
and I'm not focused on like those things. I think that's like, it's not really important. It's not something I care about.
Though I did,
it's just funny to acknowledge.
I did think when the kid got hurt and the thing in his neck.
Yes,
I was like, oh, you'll have a scar like Maddie. I was just like, I thought
Yeah.
that. I was like, oh, well, he'll be fine. Maddie was okay. But
The more I get medical training, the more I think about how these people should not be alive. Maddie being forefront.
The Buckley siblings can both
Right?
take a cake for that.
They're like cats with 9 lives, honestly. Like,
Now
Buck
they're
should
double
be-
a few of them.
Should be permanently disabled, and Maddie should be dead. Just thinking. Just saying.
Right?
Like,
Yeah. So we kind of talked about the end of the episode. What about the whole episode? What did you guys think about it?
I mean, I enjoyed it. Like, it was good. Like, it kept me entertained. That's all that matters. The AI story, I knew it was a matter of time that one of my shows was going to introduce AI, and I'm not really mad about it because it's like I feel like we should be kind of showing like the bad of it and stuff, and I definitely think it's bound to come up more, especially in like emergency type shows. I have seen it in other settings as well, and I do think it was funny that I had to look it up of what Jennifer Love Hewitt had said about like basically being the AI voice. She said, yeah, it reminded me of the 2022 hit horror film apparently called Megan. Basically an AI doll that gains self-awareness and refuses to let anyone get between her and her human companion. And I was just like, yeah, that's creepy. And she said it was weird because like the part where she's like kind of arguing with Sarah, she's like basically yelling at herself. Which was
Yeah, it would've been awkward.
very confusing. But like she said it was fun. And it was a challenge, which I can only imagine.
Yeah. Yeah, overall, I liked the episode. It was fine. I don't have like particular feelings one way or another. Like it's not a favorite episode, it's not a hated episode. I'm just kind of like, okay. I think there are some things that could have been done better. I think there's some things that definitely could have been done worse. So glad to have stayed away from that. I did actually like the AI story. I like that we're getting storylines that are talking about the dangers of it and everything. And I think we're going to be seeing that for a while in the film industry because I think the film industry is well aware of how AI is out for their jobs. However, we're going to see the rats fleeing the sinking ship if we ever start getting more positive storylines. Saying that. And I'll leave it there. I did like this. The only thing I did find the ending scene with Sarah cringy, but you know, it's fine. It's fine. I did find the thumb drive smash really satisfying.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Like, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that's nice.
Right.
And Maddie, of course, Maddie/Jennifer Love Hewitt, love just acting. She's such a good actor. I'm sorry, like she really is. So yeah, I love that. I'm interested to see what we're looking forward to next week, of course. But it's I think I'm kind of in a spot where I'm still waiting for them to establish where these next episodes are going in this show. Because we're still following Hen's storyline, but presumably that's not going to be all that we're facing the rest of the season. And I think that comes from us having the break so early on.
Yeah.
So we're gonna see. But yeah, good episode overall.
Yeah, it was not a bad episode. It wasn't like one of my favorites. It was just a good all around show. I mean, I wasn't a huge fan of the AI stuff, but it's definitely something that's happening in our world where it's coming up. More and more people, more and more companies are trying to integrate AI into everything. You know, even as I have the document open for our Word doc up in the corner, it's like Gemini in Chrome, you know, like wanting you to open it. And it's like, I use ChatGPT, but for basic things like we talked about earlier, for what it was a good storyline because it was showing truly how AI can help in some ways. But Dispatch, you know, there's certain things that a human just can't, like a computer can't mimic, no matter how much training you give it. And this was a perfect example of like AI would read the document, put pressure on, you know, cut off circulation and not connect. Oh, it's in the neck. We can't do that, you know, like so that had that been able to think that way and stuff. So just those little things. The Hen Chim storyline, we knew it was going to have to happen, explosion of some kind. So I'm not surprised. I'm glad Athena decided to kind of pull everybody together and it, integrating, it was cool to see Amy Teagarden in this show. Somebody had mentioned something online and I saw it and they're like, oh, they're reconnecting with Ryan. And I'm like, I don't know if she ever worked with Ryan. So I'll have to look that up. But I've known of her since she was in Starcrossed, which was like 12 some odd years ago, it was a good short series on the CW. I felt bad for the guy that, the veteran, that was definitely a rough scene. But I'm loving seeing Eddie stepping up into the paramedic role. With Chim being captain now and Hen being out, Eddie's kind of the only medic, really. And I like that he's being able to use his skills again.
Yeah.
And I love the Buck and Eddie stuff and the banter, and that was cute. I mean, the host thing at the beginning and Athena coming up, and and you could see the relief on both of their faces when she went up there because they're like, oh, we don't have to talk to him. Yay. And I'm gonna let Katie talk about the promo because I haven't seen it yet either.
I don't mind. I never mind. So the promo. So Hen is meeting her new physical therapist, and then Hen says to Karen, "You're gonna leave me here with a sitter?" And Karen just like slightly nods. And the physical therapist is like hunched over, like on the ground, and then he starts clutching his chest, so then he falls over. Which,
of course he does.
Yep. I was like, yep, that's not one for you. And so then, which Hen then needs to get out of her wheelchair to help and obviously like call 911. And then Harry is doing like some drill or whatever, and then he ends up falling off the ladder, and so they have to get medics and whatever. Then Athena and May show up at the hospital, and Athena is asking like where his room is, blah blah blah. And May's like, "Mom," to Athena, and Athena gasps. So I don't know what that's all about. I do have like slight theories on that of where they could be going with that. I could be completely wrong. I don't know. It's very interesting. I don't know. With the Harry stuff, I'm getting the same vibe that we had in Lone Star and stuff with
Wyatt?
Wyatt, yeah, thanks.
I had to think for a second. I was like, I know who she's talking about. My first thought was Watson, but we're not talking Sherlock Holmes.
I could not think of it. But yeah, I don't know. So like I have many things like just circulating my brain right now because I'm like, okay, well, I don't know if this is the route they're going. I have so many things. I'm like, okay, so he falls off the ladder. That's really bad because it's just like, and also it didn't make sense because it seemed like they didn't have the ladder up all the way when he was climbing. Like it was just they were like moving it when he was almost at the top, like trying to go through the window. And so I'm just like, so am I thinking, I'm like, is he gonna get hurt to the point that he can't, this is like career ending before it technically starts? Does he have like a medical issue he didn't know about that makes him like fall or something? I'm like, where are they going with this? Because this is like, I don't know, it'd be interesting. I don't really, and also like a lot of people were saying like, they're like, why does Hen look like she's progressed so much? And I'm like, well, she has to get physical therapy, and I'm sure like it's for mobility reasons why she's in a wheelchair. Like it could be helping with her, like obviously like saving, like not conserving more energy.
And maybe also medications are doing something as well. Like she might be feeling weaker. I don't know. I don't really know what to think about any of that. Like I'm just mentally going. It's pointless because I don't know what this episode is going to bring, but I'm just mentally going over what I know about like ladder training and stuff. I'm like, well, it is supposed to be like, I don't know. I don't even know what's going to happen. I don't even know what's going to happen, and I've not even seen the promo. I don't know why I'm analyzing it when I have not seen the promo.
Well, they always
putting the firefighter part of my brain to the side. That's kind of hard to do. It'll be interesting to see. I do wonder if they're just doing a drama thing, like if they're just over dramatizing it for promo purposes, and is like actually going to be fine. I don't feel like they're going to be looking at having two people have life altering quote unquote disorders or disabilities in the same season.
Yeah, I mean,
like, it's just a silly little wee-woo show.
Yeah, I don't think they would do that. Could they possibly make it so he couldn't be a firefighter? I wouldn't hold it against them because I feel like.
But I feel like, what's all this been for?
Yeah, they would do something like that. They would like everyone would be like all for this, and then they would like get rid of it Like, I wouldn't hold it against them. Like, they did the same thing with Albert, where we got, like, basically maybe not even a season with him become a firefighter. And then I was like, oh, never mind. I don't actually want to do this. Or, like,
Yeah.
this is just not for me anymore. Which I get it. In life, that happens. You might get into a career and be like, no, actually, I don't like this. Like, actually, people can change
Mm.
careers. People
Mm-hmm.
They
change
can.
careers so often.
Yeah, they can. And also, like, what's right for you in one point of your life isn't always right for you in a later stage of your life as well. You change as a
Sure.
person, you change your desires, you change who you are. And so
Mhm.
it's always okay. Like, the most important part of starting again is that you start again.
Yeah.
I saw that quote the other day, and I really think it's a good one. And so, if that is the case, then it's what it is. I'm interested to see what we're doing, but I feel like it's not going to be that serious. I
Mm.
might be wrong. I might be very wrong. In which case, I will eat my word. We can print out the transcript, and I'll read it right here.
Yeah,
But
I mean, yeah, I feel like it is dramatized, obviously, but like also I'm like, where are we going with this?
I also don't
Yeah.
trust them. So,
I
like,
Well, I mean,
I do
even the
not.
beginning of the season, like the promos that they did that were totally like fake, not part of the show, just up dramatized stuff. Like the promos
yeah, I
are
looking
so
shit.
they're so little and so quick. It's like I don't, yeah,
They are made to make you tune.
yeah, and like she could just see somebody she recognizes from her childhood in a hospital bed in the other room or something. I don't know.
Yeah, but I feel like
Yeah.
because it's May pointing something out, unless May has met this person, I feel like it has to be tied into something else.
Possibly.
Maybe.
We'll see next week.
Yeah, for
We
sure.
will see next week.
And we just
This'll
we're recording this a couple days before the airing of the next episode, but we just had 118 day. It took me the longest
118
time.
day.
I saw the video come. I was like, "Happy 118 day," and I'm like, "What are they talking about?" I'm like, have they hit the 118th episode yet? And then I realized, oh, it's January 18th.
Am I the only one that was not confused by that all? Well, I also saw
No,
Nashville did the 113 thing like last week. So when I saw
Oh,
that
I didn't see that.
and then I'm like, wait till 126 day.
Yeah, I know, right?
True. No, I actually did get it immediately. It took me a second only because I didn't know what day it was. But then I was like, oh, wait, it's 18th. That makes sense.
Right. It took me a second.
That was the only reason I didn't know what was going on.
Right.
I was like, wait, what day is it? Time isn't real, guys. I don't know how to work this to you, but like time isn't real.
Yeah. I'm like, oh yeah, that's a thing. Yeah. Anybody have any other thoughts they want to share?
Lone Star aired 6 years
We
ago
did this
today.
in like an hour.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Wait.
2020.
Yeah, I had to look it up to make sure I had the right date because I heard somebody talking about it yesterday, and I was thinking about it, and I was like, "Wait, oh yeah, I gotta mention this before we get
Yeah.
off."
Like, happy birthday, Lone Star. Golly.
Happy birthday, Lone Star. Oh my goodness. I can't believe it's been
6 years. I was
6
just talking to
years.
somebody the other day, and they're like, I don't know, because I got into Heated Rivalry over the break, and so they're saying that from the end of when Heated Rivalry, the episodes ended, like around Christmas, it could be up until early 2027 before we get the next season. So I was like, I don't know how I can wait another 18 months for this. And I'm like, honey, I've done that a few times.
I'm a professional.
It's like the people that like it's like the people that are like, I can't wait 6 months for the next book in the series, and it's like, how about like 5 years?
Right?
Or like
Right? Literally, like, see,
get back in the trenches with us.
I get it because I feel that like with shows because I've waited so long for certain shows to finally be airing again, and then they're airing again like after like 9-10 months, and it feels like so long when it first ends, and you're just like, God. And then like the time passes so fast, and you're like, oh, okay.
Well, and specifically for them, like they're based off books. I'm like, go read the books again. Or I mean, there's gonna be tons of stuff out there, and there's a new book coming out this year. So it's like, but yeah, I was like with Lone Star and 911 when we had the like COVID season, and then we had the Lone Star being delayed, and then the writers strike. I was like, it's okay, we'll get through it.
Yeah.
And I know we're having another like hiatus here soon because of the Olympics. So we'll have a few more episodes, and then we'll have the Olympics for a couple weeks, and then we'll be back to recording. So we'll probably do something in between there for us. So I'm excited. 911's here, and I haven't had a chance to connect on watching any more Nashville since we last talked about it. So
Yeah.
I don't even know what's going on in there. I do know that I did hear that Ryan and Oliver, the episode they're going to be in is the episode 12, I think.
I think I heard that.
Well, thank you all so much for joining us and listening. Be sure to subscribe to wherever you get your podcasts and check us out on YouTube. For more, you can visit 911lsroundup.com and follow us on socials at 911lsroundup on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok. And of course, come join us on our Discord server. The links below and on the website.
You guys can follow me, Katie, at For the Love of Tarlos on TikTok, Instagram, and Threads.
You guys can follow me, Grace, at RunRatha911 on Instagram and Threads.
You can follow me, EJ, at EJ8302 on Instagram, Threads, and TikTok. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.